What's up, guys? My name is Perry. It is said, don't fear the man who has played 100 decks, but fear the man who has played one deck 100 times. So, in the spirit of that, I have decided to start playing 100 matches of my favorite deck, Branded. This will basically be a chronicle of my journey from being an okay Branded player to hopefully being a pretty good Branded player. This is the list we'll be playing to start things off. This is what I've been expecting to play kind of throughout Fire King Snake Eyes format here, but as we go through, we'll be seeing that we're not actually seeing a lot of Fire King Snake Eyes. I think people are mostly just sick of the deck and are moving on to other options. So this is a list I basically made to beat Fire King Snake Eyes, but it's got a few shortcomings that will be changed and altered throughout the course of the run. Now let's do a quick profile. I'm doing this in post and I no longer have the deck done since I have played a few matches since then and have altered the deck. So I can't really go over like it card by card and bring up the things on the big screen here. So we're kind of stuck with a static image. I'm sorry about that, but I guess it is what it is. So we have one Bestial Lubellion, one Ad Libitum of Despia, one Gimmick Puppet Nightmare, three Kashtira Fenrir. I really love this card just for its ability to generate card advantage for your opening hand, and then it provides an additional interruption during your opponent's turn, which comes in handy if you go for the Puppet Lock because Puppet lines don't really generate a lot of interaction. Then the usual stuff, three Aluber the Boober of Duber, three Fallen of Albaz is standard now, two Blazing Cartesia, one Guiding Quem the Virtuous. You only need the one. It's kind of inconvenient if you draw her, but I mean, running two is just kind of unnecessary. She's just the third best normal summon in your deck after Aluber and Albaz themselves. And I'd argue probably even Cartesia is a better normal summon just because it protects you from hand traps. Then I'm also running the Fright Fur package at 3 Imp, 2 Patchwork, and 2 Polymerization. I did cut this later, but the thing that I liked, especially for Snake Eyes, is you kind of need a lot of card advantage, especially when you're running like Super Poly and Droplet. You just need to have cards to be able to feed into that. And if you can just kind of keep up on cards, you can kind of help stay the same pace as Snake Eye without like falling too far behind in the grind game. Because if you run out of cards, you're kind of screwed in that department. Then let's see, we're playing one Tri-Brigade Mercurier, the card you see up there, one Tragedy, three Branded Fusion, one Branded in Red, three Branded Opening, one Called by the Grave, three Super Polymerization. I don't usually like this in Branded because of how much extra deck space it takes up. It is very good for the Snake Eye Fire King matchup, but if you can avoid going without it, I kind of like to. One Branded Lost, one Branded Banishment, which is a Super Poly as well as a Monster Reborn. It's really a nuts card if you can pull it off. When it works, it absolutely works, but sometimes it's just not the best option, which is strange for a card that has so much goodness built right into it. Then I'm playing the kind of auxiliary Send to the Graveyard engine there in the form of an Albion, a Retribution, and a Bestial Saronir. These are here to help you find Branded Fusion in ways you wouldn't normally find them. The last card in this list that I haven't personally tested myself and I never really liked in testing was the Forbidden Droplets there. In theory, it's good for sending something so that it can resolve under like a Veiler or a Imperm, but I've never really been too impressed with it, and board breaking and everything, you just really need card advantage. Going into the extra, we have a Guardian Chimera, two Mirror Jade, one Predaplant Dracos Stapelia, two Albion, one Grand Guignol, two Lubellion, one Sprint because I am banking on Albaz to like remove some Snake Eye monsters or some other stuff. One Titaniclad, one Garura, one Mud Dragon of the Swamp, one Albion, and finally a Rinbrum the Striking Dragon. Finally, in the side deck, we have 2 Ash, 3 Cosmic Cyclone, 2 Nibiru, 1 Jinzo, 3 Soul Release, 2 Ghost Bell, and 2 Droll Lockbird. These is kind of tailored, like I said, to the Snake Eye matchup. At the time, I wasn't too much of a fan of Ash, just because of their ability to take Hida and revive the Ash and use it for their own plays, as well as like I'm on Cosmic Cyclone because it theoretically takes out the Fire King field spell and forces them to nuke their board. I'm on 2 Nibiru. I think I thought I had the third one in the main deck because if you're on Nibiru, you can just make Titaniclad a lot bigger and it can beat over like the big Raid Raptor Xyz boss, which was a thing I think when I made this deck. 1 Jinzo as a secondary puppet lock for trap decks. 3 Soul Release for Fire King Snake Eye reasons. The Ghost Bells because Fire King Snake Eye reasons. And 2 Droll because it's kind of good against Pearly and other things, but Fire King Snake Eyes at this point has learned to kind of play around it. That concludes the deck profile. Any questions or, concerns, just come at me in the comments. I'll try to get to them. But right now, let's just get into the game. Alright, starting off, we're going to choose Scissors and then proceed to wait about 10 seconds for our opponent to go ahead and pick whatever the heck they're going to do. I don't know, I can't really get into rock, paper, scissors theory too much, but we win the die roll, we get to go first. And wait and draw face heck for a while we contemplate whether or not our opponent is going to be dropping Dimension Shifter on us. The answer is most likely, but he's going to take his time to try to figure that out here. So here we are, we're just waiting, mousing over the hand. We've drawn Albion, Fenrir. We're going to start off by summoning Fenrir in defense here, activating Fenrir's effect to add another Fenrir. We have not been drolled, and that's good. So we're going to go ahead and I'm pretty sure we're going to lead with Albion here, sending the Retribution. And that gets us in a Looper. Now, we normal summon the Looper, and I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, I misplay here and just mindless... No, I do grab Lost. That's good. So I will activate the Lost, and then I'll go ahead and activate the Fusion, and it appears we're all clear. No Dimension Shift or anything. Wondering what on earth that feedback in the draw phase was there. But out comes Albion. We're going to use Albion's effect here. And we're going to go ahead and use Branded Lost here. And go ahead and grab that. I think we grab Cartesia here. Yep, we do grab the Cartesia. Probably in hindsight, might have wanted to grab the Mercuria or whatever. But we banish for Lubellion. Lubellion effect. Pitch the second Fenrir since it's not going to be in much handy here. Do I pitch the Fenrir? Yeah, no, the Fenrir is the right call. I pitched the Cartesia. And I know I immediately regret it. But alright, so out comes Mirror Jade, shuffling that back. Chains over and everything. I'm still getting a little bit used to the YGO Omega interface here. Yeah, just you're going to see a lot of stuff popping up. So I am going to Mirror Jade. I don't quite know what I'm doing here. I zone out for a second. Then I decide to bin the Titaniclad. And no, I don't want to chain anything. I'm just going to banish that Lubellion, so I have access to the Quem in the end phase. I set Banishment, which is good. And then in the end phase, we're going to go ahead and activate all of our effects. We're going to go ahead and set the Branded in red. Then we're going to go ahead and activate the Titaniclad. And summon out the Quem. Now, going for the puppet line here, I should dump a Fallen of Albaz, but going for the puppet line, you'll see doesn't leave you with much on-field interruption, and if something kind of happens on their turn, like your Albaz gets called by the grave, or like something else goes on, then you're kind of screwed in the long run there because you don't really have much to go off of. So here I am just thinking in the end phase, making sure I have everything before I pass. And then draw standby. I probably should have just shotgun that. I don't know what I was with. Okay, so I have not at this point actually summoned Grand Guignol. And I don't know if that's dawned on me. Because I remember one of these games, I forgot I hadn't summoned Grand Guignol and just like went for the Albion play without having first dumped the puppet. So you can tell I'm still quite green as far as playing this deck goes. So he's actually on some Dark World branded build. This was quite interesting because I don't really know what the Dark World cards do. I just know that End Boss forces you to, or changes the deck that forces you to discard a card. So I know what the branded half of their deck does, but I don't know what the Dark Lord or Dark Lord, yeah, Dark World part of their deck does. So I go ahead and let their branded fusion resolve. They're gonna dump a Cartesia here and an Albion to make, I mean, a Cartesia and an Albaz to make that. I'm gonna go ahead and use the Quem effect to summon back the Cartesia here. Thinking about if I need to do anything else, I don't. I summon back the Cartesia, and I'm pretty sure on resolution of this effect is when I'll start things popping off here. Now, because they started the chain themselves, the branded Lost is not going to activate. It needs to specifically be my fusion summoned effect that goes off in order for that to occur. So I'm going to go ahead and use the Fenrir effect here. And I believe I banished the Albion face down. And then I believe I go ahead and chain something else here, which winds up being a moot point just because of... No, I don't wind up chaining. Okay, do I wind up chaining anything else? I'm quite curious as to what I do here. It's been a few days since I've actually went and recorded these. So yeah, I do chain the banishment targeting my Albion. And then I believe I'm going to use those to summon into Dracus Stapelia. Something I'm considering running more than one of in my deck, actually, just because of how easy it is to summon. So we're going to go ahead and use the Cartesia and the Quem to go ahead and make Grand Guignol. And then we're going to summon back the Albion. And we're going to go ahead and ban it, or we're going to fusion summon using those two. And then Fenrir is going to banish that face down, and then they get to resolve their effect, most likely shuffling back. Well, actually, I don't know what they're going to shuffle back here. I believe it's a Cartesia and something else. I'm checking to see what they're going to do. I mean, they do have the materials for Mirror Jade. I know they don't go for Mirror Jade. They go for something else, which is quite interesting to me. Like, I wouldn't have considered really going for that as opposed to something... I mean, Mirror Jade, because in my mind, Mirror Jade's just almost better in every other scenario. Oh, they go for Grand Guignol, because I believe they need to specifically dump a specific Dark Lord monster. Because they go for Grand Guignol every time. So I'm thinking on what I need to do here. I do fire the branded in red, going for the Albaz. I mean, I think probably in resolution of chain it would have been just as fine, but... Alright, we go for Albion here, banishing the Grand Guignol. I don't run a second target for it, so keeping it on the field or in the graveyard is kind of worthless. And then we're going to go ahead and dump the puppet to the graveyard. On resolution of the chain, they're going to Garura to draw one. I think they just need the draw. And then I'm just going to go ahead and Albion effect. I go ahead and get Cartesia, I'm assuming, back. It looks like I'm going to go for Cartesia. And then he's going to get the Gimmick Puppet. probably, in all honesty, Quem was the better play there just for the revival on the next turn, considering I've already used Cartesia's next turn, but it all depends. Cartesia, there's a very good argument for Cartesia to be made, so at this point, I'm pretty sure I'm just going to click no to everything, and we're just going to wait for him to do some Dark World plays to do some stuff, and I believe he scoops it up after this, considering he can't really special summon anything. But he is activating a bunch of monster effects that we're just really can't interact with here, because we don't really have anything like an Ash or anything like really worth trading for any of these cards here. One of the things that I do like about the Albion puppet lock here is if you don't banish the puppet, if you throw the puppet in the graveyard, you can just do it every turn. There's nothing that like stops you from doing it. And plus, Albion, being a monster reborn, like a quick effect monster reborn in and of himself, he can like bring back your Mirror Jade, bring back a Dracus Depelia. There's like no typo lock on him. He's like not restricted to branded monsters or Despia monsters or monsters that mentioned Fallen of Albaz. All right, 1 cards were drawn, and let's see what we're gonna do here. I think we're just gonna go ahead and switch everything to attack. Just to make sure, you know, we don't enter the battle phase with anything in defense. Gonna go ahead and use Fenrir here to grab the 3rd Fenrir, just keep up on our card advantage. I think we're gonna go ahead and, yeah, activate the Fright for Patchwork, add the Edge Imp Chain and the Polymerization. I think we're just looking to see if he's going to do anything. So he's going to go ahead and Fenrir here. I guess he's going to go get himself another Aluber. He's going to grab Aluber's effect. I don't know if I go ahead and decide to negate that. I'm thinking about it. And I decide not to negate it. So he grabs the fusion. It's not really going to do anything. I think my mind is just kind of set on punching for these 4 guys and killing him, or at least just making sure nothing's going to go on here. So we're going to go ahead and banish one of his cards to face down. We go for the Grand Guignol, and he scoops it up. So let's see. I believe I'm going to side in some going second cards here. Most likely Cosmics. Let's see. That was one thing I did not like about this particular version, is it always felt so hard to find stuff to take out. Like, there was always a bunch of stuff I wanted to put into the side deck, but there was almost never anything I wanted to take out of the side deck. I mean, take out of the main deck in order to put stuff in the side deck. I take a while deciding this, so I'm just gonna cut it a little bit short here. And here we are. This is the swap that I make. And it looks like I actually go ahead and decide to swap out one last thing here. And here we go for the game 2. And as per my usual thing with this particular style of the deck, just running like with the 50 cards and everything, I did tend to brick a lot more. I have drawn Droplet Called By, which is pretty good. And I've got the Puppet in the opener, which is good for not having to push through too many effects. But I'm really relying on this Albaz, just like normal summoning. That's one of the problems with Albaz versus other disruptions like Super Polymerization, is just the fact that he's like more susceptible to being like destroyed or banished or like negated. Like, because literally any interaction with Fallen of Albaz just kind of causes him to resolve, like, short of Book of Moon. I have had people book Albaz before and they're not aware of the ruling that he'll just keep resolving. But alright, I don't really have any hand traps. Let me see if I can speed up the Dark World player's turn here. Okay, that didn't actually take too much longer. It appears he doesn't have, like, much, if any, on-field disruption, so this droplet was kind of a mistake here. Keep it in the deck, but, let's see, I believe we're going to start with Albion just to kind of go fishing, get the Retribution out of our deck, see if we can draw anything else useful. But staying around back row, like, Branded's a deck that has a really hard time outing back row. So I believe I'm just going to go straight for the, I'm checking the graveyard, making sure nothing, like, has an effect that I need to know about. I don't think that it does there. Aside from, like, opening in the graveyard, preventing a destruction, but... So here we go. I believe we're going to start with the fusion deployment. I think about this for a brief second and decide to wind up going with Cartesia. Just because I'm like, oh, if Albaz, like, they try to imperm Albaz, I can just chain Cartesia. Gimmick Puppet here is definitely the discard. Do I go for the Gimmick Puppet? I don't even really know. I go for the Droplet, and Gimmick Puppet was still definitely the discard. Anyways, it goes for Skill Drain here. I'm gonna go ahead and chain the Cartesia so that I do get it to resolve. But at the end of the day, Branded just really cannot deal with Skill Drain. There's no way. I just go for Albion here because it's like the biggest monster I can make off of these two, and it beats over the Grand Guignol. But at the end of the day, there's really nothing I can do here. The only play that I might remotely have is Chimera to out it. So I think I'm just gonna fast forward through me floundering. I wind up scooping the game because I can't out the Skill Drain, so let's just cut to the chase. And there we are. We've lost the game. We're going to go ahead and sort our deck real quick here. Try to remove some of the unnecessary stuff. Like we recognize that those droplets just aren't doing anything. And we don't have any out for the skill drain aside from those Cosmic Cyclones. So we're going to go ahead and swap those in here. We're going to swap the Chimera package back in for the whatever. We're going to take out Nibiru since they're going to be bad going first. And I think we think about taking out the Super Polys, but decide not to. Then we go ahead and remove the Droll and 2 Ghost Bell. Just because we're going first, hopefully we won't need anything. Swap that, and here we are going first. We've drawn 3 Albaz. Why? How? How on earth do we draw 3 Albaz? We decide to dump the chain here because the chain will actually help us get to a polymerization, which will hopefully get rid of more of the Albazes here. So, but the good news is we have gotten our branded fusion. I think we are going to need to actually use branded fusion to fuse from hand here. But let's deck thin with a patchwork. And then we're gonna go ahead and straight branded fusion. Thankfully no Ash or anything this game. I mean, several of the hands I've had have just like would have straight lost to an Ash Blossom. I mean, as much as we branded players like to pretend the deck has moved on from just being Ash Turbo, there are some hands in which case it just, if you get Ash Blossomed, it is game over. Which Branded is an incredibly weird deck, because very few decks that use the graveyard would rather get hit with a Dimension Shifter than an Ash Blossom, but that deck is Branded here. Okay, so we're just going through the standard Albion line. I think at this point I've committed to going for a Puppet Lock. I don't really have enough good resources here to go for a Puppet Lock, and I'm pretty sure I'm punished for that. I should have gone the Tragedy into Adlib line rather than going for a Puppet Lock. It was definitely suboptimal. If I remember correctly, we do still wind up winning this game, but at this point I'm just staring at my graveyard contemplating my life decisions. So I think we can still get to the puppet lock line if we do wind up using the Mirror Jade here to banish the Lubellion, which, pro tip, should be done in the end phase, just to hedge your bets against, like, certain effects that can only happen during the main phase. So we're going to go ahead and start with that to get the Branded in. Then we're going to go ahead and activate the Titaniclad, summon the Quem. And this is when I, like, really realized the craps hit the fan, because I don't think I've got an Albaz in that graveyard. No, I've got an Albaz in my hand. So I'm, like, floundering, trying to figure out what I need to do. Because I think I went to... Can't remember if I could activate that or not. I think, if I'm correct, I do wind up finding the puppet lock, but it's, like, after a very unfortunately long time. Okay, so then he's going to go ahead and go for a Branded opening. I decide not to chain anything for it. I am checking my graveyard, and it turns out I do have... Oh yeah, I do have the Fallen of Albaz, because I had 3 Albaz in my hand, so that's why I have the ability to go for that. I'm just waiting for him to summon something from the extra deck so I can bring back the Cartesia and fuse for Grand Guignol before I go ahead and go into the Albion line here. Although, in hindsight now, I think I probably could have triggered it if I would have just used the Branded in red and then used Quem, but no, then I wouldn't have had a Spellcaster, so... Okay, so he goes into Brigand here. I think it's because he wanted to dump Rafa or something else. So I'm going to go ahead and chain the Quem. He's going to go ahead and train Dark World Prophecy, which I don't actually really know what it does. I think I'm just reading here. Okay, so it targets and banishes, and I can't do anything about that. So there goes Albaz. There goes the Puppet Lock, and there goes Cartesia, I believe. And I get, he summons the Dark World to my side of the field here. I think at this point I'm just really flustered at kind of how bad I've been playing and just regretting a bunch of mistakes here. Now, I believe he yoinks my Edge Imp chain. I don't particularly know why on earth he does that, but... There's a Grapha, and I'm pretty sure at this point he's just gonna start slowly picking my board apart and just spamming a bunch of things. I've got a dead Branded in red on field, which I can't really do anything with. I don't know why I allowed that thing to resolve without activating my Branded in red. So I think at this point I'm just going to scoop it up, and that's going to end the game. So our first game in the 100 Days of Branded challenge here is a complete bust. We do lose, but that is kind of the point, is we do want to start getting better at things and improving so that we're not in situations like the last game where we should have just gone for a completely different line entirely, but instead we got so focused on doing Puppet Lock that we threw the game away. I attended a regional with Branded. I believe this list is actually what I took to the last regional, but the regional before that I attended with Branded was the disaster for me because I just spent way too long hyper focusing on that Puppet Lock. And if you hyper focus on that Puppet Lock, it makes you like 100 times worse of a Branded player. You just need to learn to find other lines. This deck is a very, like, big brain deck. It's why I love playing it so much, is because there are just 100 lines to get to different things. Like, there are hands that you think are complete bricks that can easily find Branded Fusion and go full combo and a half if you just know to play the thing right. Well, anyways, that's going to be it for today, guys. Thanks for watching the video. If I don't cut it down. This is going to be a full like 30-minute video, which is a little bit weird for me, and most of it's just going to be me rambling. But I appreciate you guys coming out. And if you liked it, leave a like on the video, subscribe for more Yu-Gi-Oh content. Give me some feedback in the comments. Maybe I rambled a bit too much. Maybe I didn't ramble enough. You never know. Some people do really like long form content. Anyways, thank you guys very much. I'll be leaving the deck lifts on screen. It'll probably be on screen for the last 2 minutes of me rambling here. So, thank you very much and have a nice day.